What's up, y'all? It's Musa. I'm here with Rama Kazi. Delusions of Grandeur, out now.
On all streaming platforms, everywhere.
Atlanta, Georgia. Here at Wish Atlanta, man. Rama, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Definitely, bro. Yo, man. The album's dope. Like I listened to it, 11 tracks. Every song is different. Every song has its own characteristic to it. But before we even talk about the album, like what's your earliest memory of music?
Man, all right. So when I was probably like 5-6 years old, my mom bought us a keyboard, right? And so I would just be messing around with it when I was a kid, just every now and then just playing around. And so one day I was listening to it's a cartoon called Franklin. It was Franklin the Turtle.
Yeah.
I was listening to the theme song for it, and I just started playing it. I just started playing on the piano. My mom saw that, and she was on the phone at the time, and so she walked in, stayed for 2 seconds, left. Next thing you know, I'm in piano lessons.
Are you the first person in your family to pursue music?
Yes.
Professionally?
Yep.
How musical is your family?
So I'll say it's pretty musical, especially on my mom's side. So basically, all my uncles used to be in like a singing group back in the day, but it was like Temptations, but for church. You know what I'm saying? So I wish I remember what they were called, but they all look fly. You know, it's like 70s. So other than that, I got one or two. I got a couple of instrumentalists on my dad's side, you know, the Indian side, and then one of my cousins, she's actually the one on Bollywood Swing, and you know, she got some vocals on what's called Block Party. She's actually a singer, a Carnatic singer, who she's been on like the Indian version of American Idol. Yeah, she's fine.
What was that moment that you decided music was something you wanted to make yourself instead of just listening?
Man, so
and being around it.
It was a slow process, bro. So growing up, it'd be little things like, at first it would just be me playing little jingles on the piano. Then I started writing poetry. Then I started writing like short little jingles on the piano with like, you know, lyrics. And then I had this stage where I would just be at home making fake CD covers, and I would just be, you know, like the whole like a concept album full of songs that I've never made. And eventually those songs turned to lyrics, and then I'd say the first time I actually recorded, I think I found the recording too, but it was probably like 12 years old, and it was a diss track to my sister, because she was tripping, she was doing something, but yeah, I made a diss track to her. It was like 8 bars.
Oh shit.
Man, I might even still have it on my mom's computer too.
Hey. What do you remember about that first non-diss track or like first song that you recorded, and do you still have it?
So in high school, I did a lot of tracks with a couple of people in high school. You know, they would make beats, and they want people to come over and record, and so
Yeah.
I had the raps, they got the instrumentals. So I think the first track I recorded, it was Overthrow It in the Bag, if you remember that.
Of course.
Yeah. Classic
Dream,
song.
Fabulous, Wayne.
Yep. Everyone had to hop on that track at some
Yeah,
point.
definitely. That's a hard song, and I love R&B, so that just brought me back. But how do you feel about R&B and rap today? Seeing your album is rap, indie singer-songwriter, R&B sort of vibrations as well. How did those influences carry on with this album?
So it's funny because I grew up being a hip hop head, like on some, like all my favorite rappers were 90s rappers, and like the typical GOATs that everyone talks about were like the ones I know their whole discography. And
Right.
so as far as R&B, I got into that more, I'd say midway through the 2000s. I mean, obviously I grew up on like Michael Jackson and Prince and artists who would sing and stuff like that, just because, you know, my mom would have us sweeping every Saturday, but I didn't really get into it for myself until around that time. And at that point, it was like, I'm hip hop head and I appreciate R&B. But to see those two genres merge, I think seeing certain artists do it, and do it to where it was still hip hop, it was still dope, it was still like, you're not compromising either side of it, but you're getting the sonic value of a good melody and a good chorus versus the bars of like a real hip hop, like some New York, like some gritty hip hop. that was really what did it for me.
And the album is out now, Delusions of Grandeur. How come that title?
A couple reasons actually. So, first and foremost, before music, actually, I started pursuing music last year fully, like full time. You know, it's been a decade since I've enjoyed it, but this past year is when I really just was like, you know what, let me go all in. And so before that, I was actually pursuing med school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was trying to be a psychiatrist.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so that was Delusions of Grandeur was it was an ode to that, but the meaning behind the actual like the name as regards to the tracks is that with all the factors around me, given that I came from like an Indian household and I was pursuing med school and all that stuff, like it almost seemed crazy that I was trying to go into music.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and I'm not even gonna name names, but I didn't have crazy support at first, and understandably, people worried.
Yeah.
So, to me, it was almost like a lot of artists when they talk about stuff, like when you listen to Jay and Nipsey and like all them, they'll say stuff like, "You have to believe you're already there to manifest it." Like, if you want something, you can't just like, "Oh, one day I'm gonna get there." Like it's like you got to talk about it like you already have it. Like, I am a millionaire. I am the best rapper alive. I am, and like that's how you get there. You have to believe it, and when you do it, when you believe it, when you act like it, you become it. So that's
true.
Yeah.
That's so true. Do you think your Indian background is more leaning towards you wanting to excel in those scientific and medical fields rather than the artistic fields? Because in India and in Pakistan for that matter, so much of the culture is towards education and not towards entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
100%. That's why it took me till now to really get into it. I mean, growing up with the Indian father, like,
right.
Love him to death. He's
Yes,
dope.
sir.
But it was definitely. I remember I actually met Dallas Austin when I was a kid. I was about 14 years old, and like I got a picture with him. My dad took me to one of his house parties, and apparently from that point onwards, like he said there was an opportunity to do something with Patchwork Studios, and he never told me about it because he didn't want me to pursue music. He didn't want me to go down that route.
Oh wow.
And just as a father, he was just like, I want you to do something more stable, like obviously like
Absolutely.
just the Indian way. So yeah.
Indians in music right now are like Nav and Anik Khan and obviously Zayn Malik. What are your thoughts on brown representation in music? Is that something you're striving to do, or is that something that just comes with your music making process and your release?
Both. So, I mean, as an artist, especially as an intentional artist, you always have to have goals. Like you have to like, what do I want my music to do? Not just even just putting out dope music, but like what's the movement behind my music? Like what am I trying to achieve with it? And so one thing I've noticed, and part of the reason I really decided to go into it is because I noticed that a lot of brown artists are leaning more towards Western music than towards brown music when it comes to trying to get into the hip hop scene and trying to get into.
Right.
And I personally think that, I mean, India's got such a beautiful culture and we got so much dope music that I'm surprised we haven't sampled like all of A.R. Rahman's catalog. You know what I'm saying? So, but with that being said, I actually love the fact that there's more and more brown representation in music in general. You talking about Zayn, it's not even just hip hop. It's like everywhere.
So the album, man, Delusions of Grandeur, 11 tracks?
Yep.
Is that right? And, what was the first song you made for the album where you were like, man, this is the first song for the album and I'm about to commit to making this album, man?
Dog, I'm glad you asked me that question. So it was actually Bollywood Swing. So story behind that.
A lot.
Yeah. That was where it all started. And so, I literally built the album around that. Like, Fila was the story of me performing Bollywood Swing for the first time, and like that bringing me into and Masala Block Party's continuation of it. So, I was listening to.
Let me just say this: Fila is forever. I love Atlanta.
Yup. You already know.
That's one of the hardest tracks on the album. My fault.
No, I'm glad you put that in there, bro. I mean, I never listed it out on the album, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Forever I Love Atlanta. And so, Bollywood Swing, I was driving at night one day. I was leaving work or something like that. And I was listening to like Lagan. I was listening to the soundtrack for Lagan, and I'm just listening to all the sounds and everything. I'm like, these would be some great hip hop samples. And I low key just started rapping over the first track. I'm trying to remember. I think it's called Gunnan Gunnan. I was rapping over that, and I was like,
wow,
like, you know, bing, like it hit me. I was like,
yeah.
so I hit up my dog Amir Animal, my producer, and I was like, bruh, I got an idea. And so I rode over to his spot, and we started talking. I played him a couple songs. And so he actually came up in he was on drumline in high school, and one of his boys, DJ T, he's Indian, and he taught him how to play tabla, or like the rhythm behind that. And he was able to hit that on the keyboard.
Yeah.
We were able to make the beat from scratch. And from there, I rewrote that song probably 3 or 4 times, bro. Like at first it was just raps. It was just like, it was just verses, bars. And then I was like, no, it's not cohesive enough. I want this to be a very well-rounded song. So couple rewrites, and there we are. And the reason I decided to pursue music full time behind that is because when the week that before I put Bollywood Swing out, I actually I sent it to one of my cousins. She lives in Minnesota and she's on a dance team, an international dance team. And I sent it like, hey, can you guys come up with a TikTok for this, or help me come up with a dance for Bollywood Swing?
Yeah.
They got back to me about a week later and was like, hey, we're actually coming out with a show, a web series through our parent organization, and we actually want to use your song for the intro and outro. I'm like, oh, word. So we negotiated. I had to negotiate through my first sync license and everything like that. But the money that I got from that showed me 2 things. One, I used all that money. That money is what paid for the album. That's how I made the album, with that $1,000. And 2, if I was able to do it this quick in the game, and I already understand like where different sources of revenue can come from for making music, this is a small business. Like I run it like that, not like an artist waiting to blow up, but like an artist looking for creative opportunities to make a living out of this music.
Are you an independent artist right now? Do you have management, publishing? Are you looking to sign to a label?
So I am independent. I work, so the setup that I have right now, my producer is like a mentor to me, and I got my graphic designer who is also a feature artist on the album, The Young Dragon. We work as a unit, like we work as a team. So like, any graphic design, photo shoot stuff that I need, like, I hit up Dragon, and if I need anything sound related, whether it's, a song, a beat that I'm not making, or like a sound engineer, that's what I go to. And so, I'm not necessarily looking to be signed, because just the way that record labels work in this day and age, I believe that they have to come up with a different strategy. Like it can't just be like, hey, we're gonna front you this much money and we need this return, because the service we're gonna give you is promotion, because to be honest, indie artists can promote themselves with social media nowadays.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
I'm looking for more brand partnerships.
Yeah, that's where it's at. And music industry has changed so much.
A whole lot.
And you're dropping at the top of the year. It's January 21. Why drop at the top of the year? And why make that the month that you drop?
Man, so I remember when I first dropped Bollywood Swing, I was talking about Delusions of Grandeur, the EP, dropping in February.
Yeah.
Then the next thing, Delusions of Grandeur, the album dropping in summer. Then Delusions of Grandeur dropping in December. But I did my research, and as an artist, you got to do your research on like when's the best time to drop, what's smart, because the worst thing to happen is for you to drop your album and it gets overshadowed by something.
Yeah.
And so, especially with that December drop, like when the album was actually done, I finished it in November. I wanted to drop in December, but I was like, well, it's Christmas, like all the big events, the holidays, like all that stuff, like people aren't really gonna be doing nothing. Like, they're moving, they're traveling, even,
Exactly.
Like going to their families, whatever.
Exactly.
And so their priorities are different places. So for me, I wanted to do it at the top of the year because, one, I did my research and nobody else was really dropping music on the 8th.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to start the year off on a fresh note. Like, I didn't want to drop my music in 2020. It was already a shit show.
Yeah, it was. And now artists aren't touring.
Yeah.
They're not touring. Did you make this album with live performance in mind?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, even just making Bollywood Swing, the way I came up with my lyrics, I was rapping in the mirror like I was on stage. So yes, definitely. I want to tour with this album, festivals, clubs, all that stuff. There's a song for each one of those.
I want to talk about the track "Hot Chicken." Very hip hop heavy. One of the more like bar heavy songs on the album. The album does start with sort of a singing song on the intro, and the outro is more singer-songwriter, as well. But Hot Chicken is, you know, about as gully as it can get.
Hip hop shit.
How do you balance both when you're in the studio, and where did you record most of this album?
So I actually recorded most of the album was either at Animal Studio or my room.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I recorded my pieces over GarageBand, and I sent it to him. You know, he got Logic, so he would mix and master it. Like, the Animal's nasty with it. So
wow,
yeah, that's where it was.
That's dope, because it sounds crisp.
Yeah, we did not
clean.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we didn't use any major studio. We didn't have a huge budget. That was straight up just like we used what we got.
Absolutely. And you shot the album cover in Camp Kirk Studios.
Yes, sir.
How was that like, man? I was linking up over there.
That was crazy, because like when you go into Camp Kirk Studios, you see pictures of every rapper that you know that's right now that's popping.
Yeah.
They've taken a picture at Camp Kirk. Like you see Yachty, 2 Chainz, everybody, even down to Jack Harlow, and it's like, okay, I'm next. Mine's gonna go right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just. It felt legit. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do a photo shoot anywhere, I want to do it where I'm solidifying my name next to the artist that I want to work with, or next to the artist that I want to be known like.
That's dope, bro. And Rama Kazi, as an artist alias or a moniker or alias, is Rama your real name? And if so, how did you come up with a name to release music under, or is this your real name?
No, that's that. I love that question. I was actually just talking with my girl about this because I was on the phone with her when I came up with the name.
Oh, who's so?
My name is actually Ramesh. You know, first name, but so Rama is Ramesh. It's an Indian name, and it's the combination of the 2 Indian deities, Rama and Ishva. And so I took the first part, Rama.
Yeah.
And when I looked it up, when you look at the Sanskrit meaning of Rama, it actually has 2 meanings. It means dark, black, but it also means beautiful, lovely, pleasing. And so to me, it kind of gave like the whole black is beautiful idea, along with the concept that it's literally an Indian deity. Like Kazi actually means in Swahili and means work, duty, function. And so those names, because one's Swahili, one is Sanskrit, they represented both sides, like my Indian side and my black side. But it's funny, like back in my old job, like one of my mentors actually used to call me Ram, and he was like, "What's up, Big Ram?" And he said, because I was stubborn, like I would always, if I'm standing in front of a wall and there's a door to the right, I will butt my head into that wall till it breaks down. And so from there, I wanted to revamp the name that I had before, which was Raj. I was like, that's not multifaceted enough. Like I can only be a rapper with that. I wanted it to be something that sounds more like a name, like Lupe Fiasco, Kendrick Lamar or something.
Right.
So I was talking to my girl about like the different names I had, and it was like, I think the one I almost settled on was Ram Shanti. And I was like, it's cool, but it's not there yet. And then it just came to me.
The rhyme with kamikaze, is that a thing too?
Yeah, so that's why, part of why I chose the name, because if like that word flows. Yeah. Like kamikaze. Right. Rama Kazi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then it makes my raps easier. Like if I want to freestyle, Rama Kazi, lyrical kamikaze, you know, all right.
When did you know the album was ready to drop, man? Like last song done, mixed, mastered, everything. Like when did you know, man, I'm about to drop, I'm about to go crazy?
So the last song that we actually recorded for the album was Waves.
Oh, word.
Yeah, initially I wasn't even planning on, the album was gonna be 10 tracks, and it was gonna be, you know, go from Co-Pilot to Indigo Dreams. Yeah. And one day I was just playing, you know, I have my MIDI keyboard, and I was just playing with GarageBand and Mainstage, just playing some notes and stuff, and I came up with the beat. I was like, oh, this is a dope beat. Okay. And at that point, the feature singer on Indigo Dreams, Richie Ortiz, he was actually, you know, like, he's one of my brothers. Like, he was teaching me how to sing. He spent the summer and a little bit of the fall teaching me how to sing. Wow. And so at that point, like, the song came up, you know, it was a dream that my girl had, and I turned it into a song. And when I recorded it, like, you know, I had been a little drunk and I was singing my ass off. I was like, yo, I gotta throw this on the album. So we got it mixed, mastered, and when I threw it, I was like, it's complete.
Were there any songs that didn't make the album that you're like kind of putting in the vault?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, to be honest, I know it's a lot of artists who record like 600 songs and save 12. For me, I would say I probably recorded like 17 tops. And one, it's funny because like, you know, you always gotta ask people like, what do you think of the album? What do you think of this before, you know, you drop, just to make sure. And there were like 2 songs that, you know, my homies was just like, keep working, bro. Not quite. Like, you know, your raps are dope, but the song is just not there yet. And so I basically use those as building blocks. So.
Are you born and raised in Atlanta?
Gwinnett, but yes.
Okay. But pretty much. And how old are you?
29.
Dope.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about Atlanta as a place to make music and rap?
Oh man.
And kind of be based out of. Do you see yourself holding it down here or moving, or what's your plan for 2021, man, music wise?
Well, plan wise, I want to take it all over the world, man. Like when COVID, but I guess when everything opens up and then, you know, COVID's over, if that's the case, knock on wood. Yeah. I want to tour in India. Like I want to take, especially with, you know, the Bollywood Swing tracks and everything like that.
Most definitely.
But Atlanta's home, and I think the best thing about it, there's so many creatives here. There's so many places that Atlanta legends have set up for, you know, people to thrive and for us to like really do our thing. Like being at Stankonia Studios and stuff like that, like that's legendary. I don't know too many other places in the world, let alone the States, that have the amount of legendary status and the amount of creatives like Atlanta.
Are we gonna see music videos from the album?
Glad you asked. We're already working on it. We finished one of them. So the music video for Hot Chicken.
Hey.
Yeah. So we're working on, you know, getting that one out there and tightening everything up. And we already have the next one planned. I want to keep that a secret because that one's gonna be real dope. But I will say it's one of the more hip hop tracks on the album.
And if you could tell your 18-year-old self something about where you're at right now as an artist, what would you tell him?
You'll be fine.
Yeah, real shit.
Yeah, because when I was 18, like I was rapping, I was still, but it was one of those like, well, you know, it's time to go to college. And it's funny because I actually chose going to the college I went to because it's, you know, Nashville, Music City. And I was like, okay, I might be able to perform there and stuff. Yeah. And I didn't really do too much of that, you know. I recorded a little bit, I'd hit college radio station, but like I didn't, you know, do as much as I wanted to. So to tell my 18-year-old self, like, go for it, like, it's never too late, but you know, it's never too early. I would just been like, hey, you'll be fine, bro. Like, go for it. You're dope.
And what's a recently written lyric that you're proud of? A bar that you're like, man, it's one of my best bars. Okay. So I think it's a tie. It's one of them on Copilot and Hot Chicken. Let's say the Copilot one was. You got legs for if you dance for me, I might just take a seat. You got legs for days, I'd like to make a week. That one was fun to write because I was in my zone, right? I was in my bag with that one. But Hot Chicken, every single bar for that one was like me channeling my inner like 95M and like, you know, Nas, like I think my favorite bar is the Popeyes one. It's the best alive up in your top 5, wrapping circles around you like the drive-thru at your Popeyes. Yeah, I was feeling myself. I was like, that's some, like, I feel like a rapper. That's dope, bro. Where can we find you on social media, man?
So Rama Kazi raps on everything.
Okay, that's a bet, bro.
Yeah.
And how important has social media been to your music, man?
It's helped, man. I'll be honest, like, I'm not a social media influencer type dude. Like, I just like to rap. I like to make music. So I try to keep that stuff like as like about the music and, you know, letting people into my personal life. But my goal is not to be huge on social media. My goal is for my music to be huge so that my social media ends up just being big just because people like vibe with my shit. But like, it's helped just to get more people aware of what I'm trying to do, if anything. So.
That's dope, bro. Hey man, this is Rama Kazi. I'm Musa. This is Ramusa Media. This is the right kind of brownies. Yo, I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.